Hey guys, a couple of days ago I made a post in regards to all stage dog food. Um, and just how that just doesn't make any sense to me. And so I just want to share some thoughts because, the reality is a lot of us, when we're buying dog food, you get one food and you see all stages on the bag, which generally it says, all stage dog food. And we think, great, it's covered. But really think about that for a minute. Like, think about the fact that, your young puppy at 8, 10 weeks old is eating the same food a geriatric dog of 12 years old is eating. And it doesn't make any sense at all because nutritionally a puppy and a senior dog's nutrition is going to be completely different. So how the heck do they get away with putting all stage dog food, which means it's got to cover the most nutritionally needed dog, which is going to usually be a puppy or a pregnant mom that needs a lot of nutrients. But then that means, are we over compensating for our adult dogs or senior dogs that don't need that much nutrition? And really, what does that mean? And so, for example, if you're feeding an adult dog an all stage dog food that's the same for a pregnant mom or for puppies, then there's a good chance that they're just getting too much, which physically can cause, digestive upsets. It can cause weight gain. It can cause decreased appetite. It can cause dry skin issues. It can cause gassiness. And then you think of it from the flip side. If your pregnant dog and or puppy is getting too little nutrition, like what you would feed an adult dog or a senior dog, that means they're going to have muscle loss because they don't need as much protein. They're going to have a dry coat. They might be experiencing fatigue and weakness and have loose stool. So really, when we think about feeding our dogs, we're thinking about optimum health. Optimum health. And so we want to kind of search for dog foods that are really geared towards our dogs and our dog's life stage. But the problem lies that you do have some brands which I would consider unhealthy, that cover all of the life stages, puppies or an adult or young adult or 7+ or seniors and, things of that. And so these are usually some of the larger dog food brands like Hills Science Diet, Royal Canin, Purina. And so in my categorize, when I think about a dry food, I think of those on my lower list as far as quality goes. It's great that they break it out into life stage, but I really don't agree with the ingredients and how they feed and the amount of carbohydrates, because what happens then is you're ending up feeding an inflammatory diet, which causes cancer, diabetes, overweight, and joint issues. And so really it's not my recommendation. So, I kind of was thinking about this. And so my thoughts were, what, if you're going to buy and you find a dog food brand that is like all life stages, what can you do to supplement or to change that slightly to help it fit into the category that your dog is? And so, for example, if you're feeding a pregnant mom or a nursing mom, you're going to add in, sorry, I was outside walking the dogs and it is absolutely freezing cold, and so my nose is a little runny. But anyways, you're going to be feeding your pregnant mom or your mom that is nursing a higher protein. So you're going to add things like lean beefs, eggs, fish. And so these help with milk production. You're going to want to feed foods that are rich in, like, DHA, like sardines, things of that nature. If you have a growing puppy, 8 weeks, 10 weeks old, you're going to want to make sure that you have the proper calcium and phosphorus balance. And so you could add things like bone broth, gelatin. You're going to want to utilize foods that are going to support their joint because they're going through growth spurts. And so you're going to want some joint support. You're going to want to support cognitive and brain function. So you're going to want to feed foods that are kind of in the, have like a fatty acid like fish or MCT oils, coconut oil, things of that nature. So those are good for like a growing puppy. And then if you have like an active adult, again, protein, lean meats are going to be good. Just add those into what you currently feed, mix a little bit into it. And so you want to use the lean meats for muscle maintenance. You'll want to use an omega fish oil for anti-inflammatory because your dog is active. You want to, again, protect the joints, make sure that it is proper feeding sizes to maintain energy level for an adult dog. And then if you have a senior dog, this is kind of when we start looking at, a senior dog doesn't need as much calories. We're going to reduce their intake of food. But things that you can add to their food is going to be things like glucosamine and chondroitin. So again, some form of a joint support. You can add foods like blueberries and coconut oils, which help with brain and cognitive. And so these are things that you could do for a senior. And the one thing that I found interesting when I was thinking about this is there are two things that you can do at all life stages. And that is a good fish oil, because you need the healthy fat for joint, anti-inflammatory, brain health. And so that helps with, puppies, adults, seniors. So a good fish oil would be really beneficial. And then the other thing is a joint support for all stages. And so you can, again, be looking at adding the bone broths or gelatin or, things like, trachea. I know, that might not be quite your thing. But anyways, irregardless. So that was my thoughts about all stage dog foods. I think if you're going to get an all stage dog food because you want to pick a premium food that does not individualize, then you're going to need to individualize each dish based on your dog. And so those are some tips for you to improve the quality of your dog's health and keep them still on maybe a dog food that you've chosen, but tweaking it a little bit so it fits the individual dog and not the whole entire group of nursing mom all the way through the senior and geriatric dogs. So you guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.